Hi everyone and welcome to Tutor Time, and I'll be your tutor today, Miss Allen. Today we're going to be decomposing a whole number into unit fractions, and then we're going to take those unit fractions and write an equivalent multiplication sentence. Now, my scholars struggled with this when I taught this earlier this year. That's one of the reasons why I'm redoing this video. Also, it is a Common Core fourth grade math standard, which means that no matter what state you're in, that's right, this is something that your scholars should be working on no matter what curriculum that they are using. So this is what we're going to do. If you did not get the opportunity to, I've made other videos giving some introductory or fraction 101 lessons. So please take the opportunity to go back and look at those, especially if your scholar is struggling with understanding fractions. Fourth grade is where we really build their foundation with really working and interacting with fractions. So this is very, very important because most kids struggle with the fraction area. And remember, what are fractions? That's right. You guys are so smart. Fractions are part of a whole. And so let's get started with breaking down these whole numbers. So let's look at number one. And as you can see, I've drawn a tape diagram. And the tape diagram is showing the number one as a whole. And as a whole, it has how many parts? 1, 2, 3, 4 parts. And what part of the fraction, the numerator or the denominator, tells you how many parts your whole has? That's right. You guys are so smart. 4. So the denominator tells you that part, and the answer is 4. So right here, we're going to write down our denominator. Our denominator is 4. And remember, our numerator tells us what? Either how many parts are shaded or missing, or how many parts are not shaded and still left. So how many parts are missing, you guys? That's right. 1, 2, 3 parts are missing. So our fraction here is 3/4. We will have 3/4 of a whole. Now, a unit fraction is one part of that fraction. I'll say that again. A unit fraction is one part of the whole. So, if we were going to take 3/4 and write it as unit fractions in an addition sentence, we would write 3/4 equals 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. 1/4 is a unit fraction. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. And now we're going to take this 1, 2, 3 unit fractions, and we're going to now write it as an equivalent multiplication sentence. This is where it gets really, really easy. Please don't blink. Like I tell my scholars, if you blink, you're going to miss it. So eyes wide open and let's pay attention. So the first thing you need to do is count how many unit fractions you have. So let's count. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to write that in a big number because it's a whole number. I have 3 unit fractions. And now I will multiply the number 3 by what fraction? That's right. You guys are so smart. 1/4. So now, scholars, we just took this addition sentence from unit fractions. 3/4 equals 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4, and we've turned it into an equivalent or equal multiplication sentence. 3, that's the number of unit fractions I have, times that unit fraction. And we're done. See how easy that was? So let's try another problem. You tell me what to do. Let's get started. That's right. First thing I need to do is count how many parts are in my whole. My whole is the whole tape diagram. So how many parts do I have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, your denominator is how many parts you have all together. So we have 6 parts. And how many parts are shaded in now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're going to write 5, 6 as an addition sentence using only unit fractions. And remember, unit fractions are just one part of that whole. So if I was just going to name one part, what would that one part be? That's right. You guys are so smart. 1, 6. So we have 1, 6. Let's write the rest of our addition sentence. We have 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, 6. Now remember, these unit fractions should only represent the parts of the whole that are shaded in. So I would have 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6, 1, 6. And when I take and I add all those together, it gives me 5, 6. So now let's turn that into an equivalent multiplication. What do we do first? That's right. Count how many fractions or parts we have that are shaded in. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I can multiply 5 times what fraction? That's right, 1, 6. And there we've just taken our fraction that started off as a whole number, broken up into pieces. We made a unit fraction addition sentence and then wrote that addition sentence to the equivalent multiplication sentence, because the whole number 5 times 1, 6 is going to equal 5, 6, because when multiplying a whole number by a fraction, we only multiply the numerator. There you go. So let's come down here. I'm going to move my chart paper up a little bit so you can see the rest of the problem. So now let's do this one. Here we have another one. We have our tape diagram. It has how many parts? That's right. It does have 4 parts. But how many parts are in our whole? That's right. You guys are so smart. Only 1, 2, 3 parts are a part of our whole. But we have to be careful with this because we have all these parts shaded in. So, scholars, what's our numerator? I'm sorry, what is our denominator again? 3. 1, 2, 3, because that's how many parts make up our whole. So, our denominator is going to be 3. But here's the trick. How many parts do we have shaded in? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 parts shaded in. So scholars, before we move on, I want to tell you that anytime you have a denominator that is smaller than your numerator, that fraction is called an improper fraction. improper. Improper fraction. That's because your numerator is larger than your denominator. And anytime you have an improper fraction where your numerator is larger than your denominator, that means you have more than one whole. That's right. So if this was a candy bar and it came with 3 pieces, we would have a little bit more than one whole. We would have 4/3. So let's break this down into a unit fraction addition sentence. So 4/3 is going to equal what? How much is one part worth? That's right. You guys are so smart. You're doing such a good job. 1/3. So now let's take that and write it into unit fractions to cover all of our shaded parts. And how many parts are shaded? You guys are so smart. I don't even know why I'm doing this video. It's 4 parts that are shaded. So we have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. And now let's change that into an equivalent multiplication problem or an equivalent multiplication sentence. Again, how many fractions do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to multiply that by what fraction? That's right, 1/3. And so let's do one more. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts of our fraction. But how many make up our whole? That's correct, 3. So our denominator is going to be 3. And how many parts are shaded or colored in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What kind of fraction is this again? That's right, improper fraction. And what does an improper fraction mean? You have more than one whole. Your fraction is more than one whole. Very good, scholars. So now let's write our unit fraction addition sentence. 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. And now let's change that into a multiplication sentence. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. So we're going to have 5 times 1/3. Now, when we're working with our math, we usually, with our scholars, we just don't want to give them the tape diagram and have them label it and figure it out. We also want to give them just a fraction and then have them kind of do the problem in reverse. So now we just have a fraction here with 7/9. I'm going to change the color of my pen to, let's go with red. And now we're going to take this fraction, and from here we're going to turn it into a tape diagram, and then we're going to write it as just a multiplication sentence. So here we have 7/9. So the first thing we need to do is draw a rectangle. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now remember, the denominator tells you what? That's right, how many parts you have. So we need to make this into 9 parts. In order to make it into 9 parts, we're going to draw 8 lines. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. I know my pieces aren't exactly equal, but it's okay for what we're doing right now. And how many are going to be shaded in? That's right, 7. Our numerator tells us that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And let's shade in our 7 parts. So now we have 7/9. But again, what was our whole? All 9 would be our whole, because our denominator tells us that. And so now, if we were going to make this into unit fractions, it would be 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 plus 1/9 to give us 7/9. But now we can move faster than that. Let's count how many parts we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what would one unit be worth? What is the fraction for 1 unit? That's right. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing so good. It would be 1/9. So 7 times 1/9 equals 7/9. because when multiplying a fraction by a whole number, we only multiply the numerator and the denominator stays the same. Let's do one more. We have 7/4. So again, we need to draw us a rectangle. Don't worry about if it's perfect or not. Now, how many parts are going to be in our whole? 4 parts. But because our numerator is larger than our denominator, we have what kind of fraction again? That's right, scholars, you're so smart. An improper fraction. So even though our whole number is only going to be 4, or that's going to be our denominator, we still need to make 7 parts. So we're going to draw 6 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. And how many are going to make our whole? That's right, you guys, 4 parts. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4 and shade in those 4 parts. And we're going to make this our whole number 1. Now, because 7 parts are shaded, we also have to shade in these parts that are outside. Now, scholars, what would be our multiplication sentence? You may hear a lot of crackling going on in the background. That's my cat going through a paper bag right now. So please just keep rolling with the video and try to ignore her sounds. Thank you. So let's count how many parts we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts. So 7 is going to be our whole number. And what will 1 part be worth? That's right, 1/4. And when we multiply 7, which is a whole number, times 1/4 is going to give us 7/4. So there you have it, everyone. We just decomposed or broke down a whole number, 1, into unit fractions. And then we wrote an equivalent multiplication sentence. Please remember that all of the work that I am doing are Common Core standards, and no matter where you live in the United States, this is something that your child will be learning during the 4th grade this year. I hope this was helpful to you. Please be on the lookout for more videos and stay safe. Have a good day. Bye, everybody.